All right, so I gotta say, I absolutely love having this platform because I have something that comes to mind, and instead of just tweeting about it, which I'll do, I'm also able to talk about it on a video and make content and share it with the world. And that's what I intend to do today about this topic, because I gotta tell you right now, my video came out yesterday. A lot of people disagreed with it, called me delusional. That's totally fine. Do not care whatsoever, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Is what it is, right? You know, you can't be right about everything, and you can't be wrong about everything. Eventually, at some point, you're going to get something right. But it wasn't just putting it out there that the Rams, if they beat Seattle, by the way, big caveat, if they beat Seattle, I think there were too many people that misunderstood what I was saying. If they don't beat Seattle, I think it's probably over. But if they do beat Seattle, the Rams do, I do think they make the playoffs, and I think they swap with Seattle in the playoffs and potentially get that 6th seed at the very least, maybe even a 7th seed. So, look, this is my point, is that a lot of people in response to this, it wasn't necessarily that they didn't believe it could happen, but there were a lot of people that were upset. They were like genuinely mad. Why would you want this, Jake? Why would you want this team to be good? Why would you want this team to be just good enough to make the playoffs and lose in the first round? Why do you want to be in purgatory? Why do you want to get a late, mid to late round pick in the first round? Why don't you want a top 10 pick? And I'll say this. I did not wait 9 months to cover this team giving up. I did not wait 9 months to watch this team as entertainment, which, by the way, that's what they are, to just give up. Okay? I didn't. But here's the thing. The Rams went 15-65 from 2007 to 2011. They never got any better with those draft picks that you're talking about. And they had very high draft picks. We're talking top 5, not just top 10. We're talking top 5. So, look, this is what I'll say. And I tweeted it out earlier. I'm going to say this right now. There are so many that would rather have the Rams get a top 10 pick than make the playoffs, as if they've had first-round picks in general. Look, I understand having a top 10 pick in theory would help, and there are guys that I definitely would like in the top 10, but can't we just be thankful that the Rams got out of this whole thing with a Super Bowl win? And in addition to that, they're back with all of their picks again for the most part. Obviously, they traded some away, but the first-round pick, they have a first-round pick again. The one first-round pick they had going into the draft was 2019. They traded it down with the Falcons. They moved up, got Caleb McGarry, and the Rams moved down and took Taylor Rapp in the second round. That's the last time the Rams had a legitimate first-round pick going into the draft. So here's the deal, okay? Remind me with the Rams, with the first, the top 10 picks, what pick was Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Ernest Jones, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Rob Havenstein, Steve Avila? Oh, that's right. None of them were first, top 10 picks, right? Here's the deal. Just because you get a top 10 pick doesn't mean you're guaranteed to find that gem. The reason I say that is because I actually create a list here. I'm going to read off of just players that came to mind immediately that weren't top 10 picks and have become stars or one of the best at their position. Down the list, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, Rashawn Slater, Tristan Wirfs, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Josh Jacobs, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jair Alexander, Frank Ragnow, Daron Payne, Lamar Jackson, Hassan Reddick, and Marshawn Lattimore, and obviously that list goes on. So what am I saying? This is what I'm saying. If the Rams, by some miraculous feat, make the playoffs, which I believe they can do, and they will do if they beat the Seahawks this weekend. I think they're going to go on a run. But regardless, if they decide to do that, if they actually do that, if it happens, or if it doesn't happen, they fall short of the playoffs, but they're not picking in the top 10, they're not in purgatory, They're not out of it. It doesn't hurt their team. They have a first rounder that they haven't had. And I see way too much of, well, it's not, we want a quarterback. Why do you want a quarterback? And if your focus is on 2024 or 2025, then why on earth do you want a quarterback? You're literally doing what Aaron Rodgers didn't want the Packers to do. When Aaron Rodgers was there and they were fighting for Super Bowls before he left because his days were numbered in Green Bay, they chose Jordan Love instead of getting him another weapon, getting him another pass protector, getting just another player that could contribute. Because guess what? You might think, drafting J.J. McCarthy, drafting Bo Nix, drafting Caleb Williams, drafting Drake May. That is a great idea, except for the fact that Stafford is under contract until 2027. You are now hoping that Stafford hangs it up. But what if he doesn't? And also, what if he continues to play well? Here's the thing. You can't spend that high of a pick when you have this much left on his deal. Furthermore, you also can't spend that high of a pick when this is your first-round pick you've had since Jared Goff in 2016, and you're not going to have a first-rounder on the field. That's a problem. That means waiting all this time, we'll have a first-rounder in 2024. In what way is drafting a backup quarterback, because that's what he would be until Stafford retired, in what way does that help the Rams win games in 2024 and 2025? It doesn't. It doesn't. The logic's flawed. It's always been flawed, just like the logic was flawed, and I'll bring this back up with Caleb Williams, with Drake May. I mean, mainly Caleb Williams. I tweeted this out too. In August, it was tank. Trust me, bro. Caleb Williams is generational. Tank for Caleb. In November, it's trust me, bro. These quarterbacks are so special. You got to get at least one of them. What's funny to me is how quickly the narrative changed from Caleb Williams, the tank for Caleb Williams. It was the suck for luck all over again. No doubt about it. He's the best quarterback in the draft. This is can't miss. This is Hollywood. Go and get him, baby. Go and get him. But now it's we need J.J. McCarthy. We need Bo Nix. We need Drake May. We need Caleb Williams. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why do I trust you? If you said, trust me, bro, in August about Caleb Williams being generational, and then November, obviously the goalpost, shifted a little bit, was pushed back a little bit, and you are now throwing 4 or 5 quarterbacks in there in the conversation, Penix included, why do I trust you? Because you usually use the word generational. There has not been a quarterback that has been as good of a prospect as Andrew Luck was in 2012 since Andrew Luck. And this hasn't changed anything. Trevor Lawrence wasn't as good as Luck. Caleb Williams wasn't. None of these prospects have been generational. You could argue the best quarterback, he was my number 1 quarterback in the 2018 class, was Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. I thought Lamar Jackson was the best one. He was drafted 32nd overall. You could argue, probably disagreed with me at the time, but my number 1 quarterback in 2017 was Patrick Mahomes. I actually made the argument that the Rams should trade Jared Goff before the 2017 season. I wanted Patrick Mahomes. It's all out there. Everyone knows it. Well, if you've been following me that long, then you know it. But the big thing here that I'm bringing up is that if you believe someone is generational, a big key component for realizing a player is generational, it's very simple. There's no argument. That's what generational means. You get a guy like that every 10, 20 years, there's no argument. If Caleb Williams is generational, then we're not having this conversation whether or not Drake May is number 1. It's been overblown that Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf were 1 and 2 and they were actually having a competition. No, it was always Peyton Manning. Talk to anybody who looked back in the day. It was always Peyton Manning. Just like Andrew Luck, it was always Andrew Luck. RG3 got mentions, but RG3 was never going number 1 over Andrew Luck. It was always Luck. Could it be the same with Williams? Absolutely. But the fact that we're having this discussion, the fact that it's this close, the fact that I just saw mock drafts the last 2 weeks of Drake May going number 1 overall, I no longer believe in that whole he's generational thing. And I've watched Caleb Williams. I've watched USC. As you guys know, I've been following them for a while. I like them. Caleb Williams is a special talent. Special doesn't mean generational. Joe Burrow was special. Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State to LSU. He wasn't even wanted by his initial team that he played for. Still special talent. Generational? No. Lamar Jackson, generational? No. But special? Absolutely. And that's the thing. None of these guys are guys that would immediately need to start over Stafford. Are any of these guys coming in right now and playing better than Matthew Stafford has? And you can say what you will, bring up the stats all you want. The film indicates Stafford hasn't lost a step. And we'll see what happens in the second half of the season. But again, goes back to my main focus, my initial point, is that the Rams can win, make the playoffs, and still find plenty of talent if they don't get into the top 10. And oh, by the way, another thing, Sean McVay kept using the words, we don't have the resources. We didn't have the resources. It was all about the trade deadline, right? No one forgot about that word choice, right? I didn't forget about it. Well, what if I told you that the Rams didn't make a trade for Chase Young because they wanted to hold on to those picks so they could trade up if they wanted to into the first round? They're in the first round. If they want to trade up further into the first round, they can. You never sacrifice a season, especially in the middle of the season when you're still not just mathematically in it. Like, we're not talking 1 percentage point. Like, they have a shot of making the playoffs. You're not throwing in the towel. No chance. So, look, you guys know where I stand. I'll go down with the ship when the ship goes down. But I'm not about to sit here and advocate for them to end the season, to give up, to get a top 10 pick. Because frankly, there are guys that I love that'll go in the top 10. Alt is one of them, Fashanu, and of course, Fuaga. They could all go in the top 10. It's also November. This draft doesn't happen until April. A lot changes, okay? Laramie Tunsil was about as good of a tackle prospect as you can find. And then all of a sudden, he gets caught with the gas mask and the weed and literally falls to 13th. He was supposed to be like a top 3 pick in that draft. You can never predict how the draft's going to go. It wasn't that long ago, guys like Darion Kendrick and, Keely Ringo, right around this time during the season, were considered second round, first round talents. Ringo went, I believe, in the 4th round. Darion Kendrick in his draft went in the 6th. Things change. This is not a guarantee. The guys that you're talking about now aren't necessarily the guys that are going to be talked about. And furthermore, keep in mind, the Senior Bowl and other college all-star games are going to start having juniors. So these guys are going to get more of a push than they've ever gotten. There's going to be a lot of changes on draft boards, and the mock drafts you're seeing right now, maybe 15, if even, of those guys are going to be drafted night 1 of the NFL draft. So look, I understand you guys want a big pick, and I'm not saying everybody. I know not everyone's on this side. But I want to be respectful of that. You guys want to be have a big pick. I get it. Okay, fine. But the fact of the matter is that if the Rams don't get a top 10 pick, it is far from the end of the world. It's far from purgatory, and you are grossly underestimating what the Rams are building right now, how much cap space they're going to have. And the fact of the matter is, if you're thinking quarterback in the first round anyway, you're looking in the wrong direction. The key, and it's so obvious, the key is a bookend left tackle of the future. The Rams should only be focusing on left tackle. It's one, they're probably going to be the best available. They're the position that teams will gloss over. They want their, neighbors with LSU. They want O'Dunes from Washington, Marvin Harrison Jr., those guys will attract that attention. Brock Bowers. However, if those guys force those offensive tackles to fall, you're in business. I would take any one of those three. Fuaga, Alt, Fashanu. I'd take any one of those three to be the left tackle of the future for the Los Angeles Rams right now. Now, have I really taken a dive into the film enough to really say which one's the best of the three? No. I will say, don't be surprised if it's Fuaga. He's giving me this feeling that he's going to be not generational. I don't want to use that, but he's going to be a star. He's going to, as much of a star as you could get out of a tackle. But I think with quarterback, I think people are really quick to just dismiss Stafford. And yes, I understand you're in that position. The Super Bowl, it's not as fresh as it used to be. You're ready to move on. You see Jared Goff, who's in his prime, doing what he's doing with the Lions. I get it. This is not the draft to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback. I wouldn't mind a second. I'll tell you right now, the quarterback we should be talking about is Jaden Daniels from LSU, because he gives you an element to his game that completely changes how teams would look at Sean McVay's offense. If you had him and his mobility and just the fact that, his running ability, first off, but his mobility to keep those plays alive, and now he's throwing to guys like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell down the road, I'll sign up for that. I would sign up for that. But Jalen Daniels, you could potentially get him in the second round. To me, perfect scenario, Rams make the playoffs. They get an important win under their belt, or they're competitive and they lose. They build on to next year. They get a left tackle in the first round, bookend left tackle. They get Jalen Daniels in the second, have Jalen Daniels sit behind Stafford, and Jalen Daniels becomes the next Jalen Hurts. Wouldn't be surprised, by the way. I keep saying Jalen because he's on that team. Jaden from LSU, transfer from Arizona State. And, furthermore, guys, I hear all the time, why would you want to win meaningless games? Look at what Arizona's doing right now. They put Kyler Murray back into the offense. Do you know why? Because they're committed to Kyler Murray, and they understand that momentum matters. And if you're rooting for the Lions right now, and you're, in shock and awe about the Lions, don't you remember that team started off like 1-6 or 1-7? They got off to a horrible start. They were in a worse position. Do you think that they should have just thrown in the towel? Because I'll tell you right now, a big reason why they're as good as they are right now, and why I'm calling it right now, since Joe Burrow is officially out for the year, I'm saying the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Do you know why I believe that? Big reason is because of how they finished last year. They were one of the hottest teams in football last year. Like the 49ers and whoever else was going to play them last year is lucky that they were screwed out of the playoffs. But they didn't give up. They missed the playoffs. But do you think it matters? Do you really think that matters at the end of the day? No. Because look at what they're doing now. Do not underestimate how important wins before the new season are to the foundation. I'll say it over and over again. People laughed when I said that Texas game. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Kansas football, but people laughed when Jalen Daniels, their starting quarterback, burned his red shirt to play in one measly game against Texas to end the season. Texas being a much better team than Kansas. Kansas, I don't even think had a win. Kansas won that game 57-56, and that changed their program. After that, Kansas went to a bowl game, and this year they're ranked going into the last two games of the year. Why do I bring that up? Because it matters. If you think for a second they're just games, you're not realizing the big picture. A lot of these guys are returning for the Rams. A lot of these guys are going to be a part of 2024 and beyond, okay? And that's the thing. If you can finish this season at a 9-8 or a 10-7, if you can finish the season with an upset win in the playoffs over your division rival 49ers, or an upset win over the Lions or the Eagles or somebody like that, you do not understand what that win can do for the future. And that's not accounting for the fact that we're talking about what it did for the Lions and a coach that has no playoff experience whatsoever in Dan Campbell. Imagine what it would do for a coach in Sean McVay and a coaching staff that's already been there, done that. And that is the thing that continues to get, it's the lead that continues to get buried. We can continue to complain all we want. Oh, if the Rams win, it's meaningless, all that. No, it's all meaningful. These games matter. It's going to carry on into next season. So if you don't finish the season strong, that's going to carry on to next season. You can't be all for 2024 and 2025 and say your number one pick in this draft, the first time you have a first round pick, you want to spend it on a quarterback who's going to be sitting behind Stafford for 2 years. And you also can't say that if you're high on Carson Wentz being the backup next year. You want to spend a first round pick on a guy who's going to be a third stringer the next year or two? That doesn't make any sense. Go out, get your left tackle, go out, make the playoffs, build upon something, and eventually you're going to get back to the Super Bowl and you'll be in good shape. There's no purgatory. That doesn't get decided based on where you pick. I'm sure the Cowboys were bummed they were picking 11th. They still got Micah Parsons. These teams that are constantly picking at the top of the draft fail more often than not. It's why they're constantly picking at the top of the draft. Just take notice. There's a reason why guys like Derwin James, Minkah Fitzpatrick, guys like Lamar Jackson fall down the board. You always have a chance to make things happen in the first round. The Vikings needed a receiver. They stayed put. They stayed put and got the best receiver in football for the next 10 years, Justin Jefferson. Okay? They could have traded up and not had that. You never know. But what you do know is that there's consistent bad decisions by bad teams. It's why they're constantly picking at the top of the draft, and those things trickle down, and those better players show up, and they fall into better teams' lap and allows those better teams to get better and continue to get better and stay better. And that's what we have. That is the circle of life. That is the way the NFL works. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to complain about the Rams winning a few extra games, if you want to complain about the Rams playing an extra game in January, by all means. But I'm telling you, in no way, shape, or form would them picking outside of the top 10 as opposed to the top 10 hurt them so much so you could say they are in a purgatory place. That is not going to happen. I'm telling you that right now. The best thing the Rams can do is to finish the season strong, compete, find out who is going to be part of this team long term, build some momentum, and then in the draft, for the love of God, there's not really anybody in free agency. Go out and get your left tackle. You'll thank me later. That's all I got for you guys. Those are my thoughts. I'm curious what you guys think, but I love having this platform because this is something like, the whole Jim Rome is burning. Well, Jake is burning about this because I'll tell you right now, I'll go back to it. The 15-65 Rams, yeah, they picked a lot in the top 5 and top 10. Where did that go? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, picking in the top 10 or picking just in the first round in general, you still have to make the pick. And I'm not falling for these quarterbacks. I'm not doing it. I like Jaden Daniels. If he's in the second, to me, it's a no-brainer. I love the tools he has. I love the way he translates to the NFL, and he doesn't have to play right away. I'm not spending a first rounder on a guy that's not going to be on the field and contributing to my football team in hopes of me winning a Super Bowl right before Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald all hanging up. Those are my thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed. You can follow me at JK Bogan. I'm out. Later, folks.
Start playing Pick'em or Weekly Fantasy for any sport today, Jake. Users will receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 if they use promo code OTE at sign up. Start playing Pick'em and Weekly Fantasy Football today with Underdog Fantasy.
Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.